Hello there, it's Fiona. Now we're busily deconstructing this old hoodie that's made out of fleece, and today what we're going to do is we're going to make a hat out of the hood. So very simple. What we're going to do is, to keep it up to fashion, is we're going to put an oversized pom-pom on the head. I've got a pom-pom maker here, so I'm going to explain how I use that. And also I've got quite a large needle so that I can thread the wool. I have my sewing machine here, and I'm going to do two options for you. One where we can use the sewing machine, or we can just do blanket stitch along the bottom just to keep it tidy. Now before I start, what I'll do is just show you blanket stitch so that you don't have to wait till the end of the video. So I've got a large knot there. I'm going to take my wool and I'm going to put it through the same size as before, and all this excess, all this loop, I'm going to put around the end of my needle, and then pulling the needle through again, so that I just keep on sewing just a very simple stitch, and I'm going to pick up this loop again. And what that does is it seals the end in. It's called a blanket stitch, I suppose, because it came from blankets, and it's quite quick to do, and it does the job, and it will look impressive. Now we don't need to seal the ends, but you know, it's a nice touch to sort of attempt them. Okay, I'm going to save that needle for sewing my pom-pom on, because one thing I can't do is thread needles very easily, so I'll put that to the side. Now the hood's quite simple. What we're going to try and do is we're going to try and leave this bit as tidy as possible. Now I do have the advantage of that this is a blue fleece, the contrast, so that I can easily describe it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut. I'm going to make sure that I don't have the canvas from the zip. That will come to about there. I'm going to leave this intact, or I can save it for another thing. Now it's quite a hefty seam there. There we go. I've just cut through the fleece and we can see the top of the zip. And it's quite well made. They've sewn it right to the side, like I would recommend that we do. So all I need to do now is I need to, as neatly as possible, trim this hood off. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow the line of the garment, and I'm going to leave an inch of the blue. So actually scissors might be better than snippers, so let's just grab those. Now this line follows all the way through. If there isn't such a line, sometimes you do get hoods that are one piece of the garment, then I would lay it out very carefully and lay it out flat. Now this is fleece, which is made of milk bottles, so, and it's a lovely fabric to work with. Now this is quite a small fleece, so it's more for a child, but you know, that's fine, it's whatever you can get hold of. But you will find that the price of fabrics is so extreme that sometimes it's nice to be able just to have something to work with, just for fun. And there are lots of projects that we can do from this old jumper. Alright, I'm going to put that to the side. I don't need it now. Now, when we're actually wearing it, we don't want the pom-pom to be too far to the back, because it will just make the hat heavy and it will pull it off. So we need to sort of find the balance point. And now I think it's at the top before the beginning of the curb. And then I'm going to take my wool and a nice firm knot. And in fact, you can sew this into the fabric and do a couple of stitches, just so that we remain as strong as possible. I'm going to take my pom-pom, and when we made our pom-pom, we wrapped a piece of wool around the outside to hold it all together. So what I'm going to do is I'm literally going to thread through that circle, and pull it down. So you can see that's where it's going to end up, but I want it more on the top than I do on the back. This time when I'm pulling the needle through, I'm avoiding that circle, so I can just do a couple of stitches and pulling it nice and tight, and hopefully those stitches will be well hidden. So I'm going to tie that off just for now so that I keep it out of the way whilst I use the sewing machine. And if I was going to finish it with the sewing machine, what I would do is I would make sure that all these things are out of the way. If there are any extra garments, you know, like toggles, then make sure that I don't sew over them. And all I'm going to need to do is fold it once, place it under the sewing machine. I've done it at a bit of an angle so that I'm 100% sure that that is out of the way. I'm going to sew a few stitches and then I'm going to sew backwards, so I'm still at my angle, but this way I know that I'm not going to damage the machine and I can keep everything flat. So I've done a couple more stitches, lift the needle down, and then because I have a curb, I'm going to make use of the machine as a kind of third foot. And now I'm going to go one step forward, so I'm now on the folded over bit, and I can literally, I've got a nice straight line now. I'm going to make sure that I line this seam up because it's quite easy to stretch fleece. It has got a little bit of pull on it, so I'm going to hold the fabric around this seam and I'm going to use that as a marker to keep it all straight. And there we go, you can see that it has no problems going over fleece at all. In a way, I've said it before, it's like sewing butter, so it's very easy to sew. And then when I've got over my line, I can either stop or slow down, and I'm going to line up to the end here. This way I haven't twisted my seam at all. Okay, so I'm not going to finish that because I'm not going to do the other end tidy. I'll come back to it. Now we do need to know how to make a pom-pom. If you have seen these pom-pom makers in the shop, I think they're fabulous, I really do. You literally just find it because you put it down somewhere clever and then you buried it under your jumper. Alright, it's not too much of a problem because I do have another one. They came in a set of 4, so it annoys me when I do this. It really does. Okay, alright, let's put that up there so you can see what I mean about the pom-pom. You don't want it too far at the back, you want it literally before the curb, and you can see that that is quite far back. So you've got a perfectly adequate hood, and of course it's big enough now to go over your ears, which is quite important, and I don't know, bang on fashion. Alright, I'm going to switch the camera off. I'm going to find my pom-pom maker and I'll be right back with you. So welcome back. I've got my pom-pom maker, and as you can see I've wound the wool round once on one side. Now basically these open out and yeah, they're just 100% quicker. What I can do is I can cheat slightly and I can pull my wool up so I've got more than one thread at a time, so, and that's all very well as long as it doesn't get knotted. I'm going to hold it in place and I'm literally just going to wind this round. I know, how simple is that? You can see that I'm now on the bits that aren't dual threaded. So now what you want to do is you want to line it up so it doesn't go over the ridges. It's very tempting to sort of overstuff it. Now whereas you can do that on a cardboard circle that you cut yourself, these ones, they don't really respond well to it. So yes, less is more. Alright, this side is probably the right amount, this side is probably a bit lacking, but I don't want to take up too much of your day. So with the narrower end of the scissors, all we're going to do now is slide that between the two. And you can see it's pinging. I really don't like this noise actually, wool being cut. Maybe that's what I should say when somebody asks me why I don't knit. It's because because I don't like the noise of wool. Okay, so there we are. I've trimmed all of my windy roundy bits. I'm going to take my wool, I'm going to place it thermally under my thumb, and I'm literally going to push it in between these two brackets, and then I can pull it sort of tight, going around a couple of times, and then when I'm back at the beginning, I'm going to take my loose end and slip knot and pull it as tight as I can go without breaking the wool, and then another slip knot just to hold it in place. So that's just under and over, like half a reef knot. If you do a full reef knot, then you won't be able to pull it tight. Now, taking these things apart, I've never really worked out the best way. Normally I sort of open one side and then pull it off, and then open another side and then pull it off. Now I suppose the wear point of the gadget is that this joint will just get weak. But yeah, I've made thousands, millions, no, I've probably made 100 pom-poms with it, so it hasn't got weak yet. Okay, I'm going to take my bin and I am just going to trim off these ends just so it's nice and tidy, and then balance it out with a nice bit of floofing around. So there we have our pom-pom. Very, very simple with those gadgets. Thank you ever so much for watching. My name's Fiona from Weekly Sewing Bee, and I do a daily blog. Thanks ever so much.